real problem. If you haven't got an identity that people want to associate with, it's going to be really hard for you to engage a community. You know, Fantastic Furniture actually makes some reasonable furniture. It's cheap furniture, but it's reasonable. The problem is their identity. When people buy Fantastic Furniture, they actually ask for it to be delivered in an unmarked van at night time. That is an issue, because it's an identity that people don't want to be associated with. And identity should drive everything you do, as opposed to what you do driving your identity. Kodak found this out the hard way. Now, Kodak actually had an incredible identity. You know, those of you who are as old as me will remember the ads from the 1970s. There was a woman who walked into a pharmacy to get some film delivered. For those of you who are Gen Y, in the olden days, we used to have to shoot on film. But basically, this woman's put her film in to be processed, and the guy's given her a replacement film. She says, "That's not Kodak." And he says, "Well, it's just fine for snapshots." And she says, "They may just be snapshots to you, Mr. Johnson, but to me, they're irreplaceable memories." That was Kodak's identity, preserving memories. Preserving memories. Now, the preserving memory business still exists. Data storage, archiving, you know, preserving precious documents, preserving art. You're actually in the preserving memories business. You know, that industry still exists, and it's a multi-billion-dollar business, but they forgot who they were and they focused instead on what they did, making film. The problem was, when no one needed film anymore, their business disappeared. So the third way to be more creative is to create a compelling identity. Next, I'll talk about how we can be more connected. So what's driving the need to be more connected? Well, the first thing is that communities are getting harder and harder to reach. Advertising used to be really easy, but consumers are getting better at hiding from us. Advertising was easy. There were 3 TV stations, a couple of magazines, some radio stations, and 2 newspapers. If you wanted to be entertained or informed, you had to accept our interruptive advertising. But technology is now making it easier and easier for communities to tune us out and turn us off. Some research by Yankelevich found that 54% of people will actively avoid being marketed to. 56% of people will actually boycott brands and companies they believe are over-marketing. More recent data from TiVo in the United States, which is like Foxtel's IQ, found that 80% of TiVo users will use TiVo to fast forward through the ads during Mad Men, a show about advertising. I mean, the word irony seems strangely insufficient to describe that behaviour. So there's a number of consequences to that. The first one is they're becoming message resistant. Now, when I was in my early 30s, I travelled the world working as a